people of the interwebs, I'm Funkle.
And I'm Bunkle.
And I'm Jacque From Stat Firm.
And welcome to the inaugural episode of the FunkleBunker. Today, we're going to be talking about something very special, but we also have a very special guest.
I'm out of my hole.
Yeah, this is WaterNinjaFrog. For those of you who don't know who that is, he died a long time ago.
But he's back.
Yeah, he used the Dragon Balls to bring me back, so we're totally good.
It's worth it.
But only for 24 hours. That's the kicker.
For the inaugural episode, we thought we'd go ahead and tackle something probably way outside of our knowledge and talk about when, if, and maybe some franchises and when they died.
Oh, yeah.
So, does anyone have a specific game franchise they want to start off with?
I think that since the new Assassin's Creed game just came out, we should talk about that. It's been going on for 10 years. It has a lot of entries. Did it die?
Yes.
Okay, when? When do you think it died?
As soon as they brought microtransactions into Unity.
So you think it just now died?
I think that...
You think after this one it's going to be dead?
To be fair, I own Origins. I haven't played it yet. But from what I have seen, they are pushing microtransactions so much that eventually it's just going to lose interest in the series.
Okay.
Like they've basically copied the whole Breath of the Wild gameplay mechanic kind of from what I've seen. The generic open world parry and slash combat.
But now they're trying to monetize it.
Yeah. It's like, oh, you want the super rare weapon? You can grind for it for like 20 hours, or you can get a loot box in the game, which they don't cost money per se, but you'll get a whole bunch of stuff with currency you can buy. They've been doing this for the past 3 games.
See, you're giving it a lot more credit than I think it's due. I think it died when Desmond died. That is my
That's a fair point.
I think Assassin's Creed died at Assassin's Creed 3.
Yeah,
because the 2 trilogy was pretty all right. It had its flaws, but then Brotherhood was okay. Then they came out with 3, and I was like, well, I don't know about that. I don't know.
Like 3 was good. It's just as soon as you kill off Desmond, you lose like that entire modern time period. We lose almost every tie to it. It's like, look at what they did with it in Unity. Oh, you're just a generic person talking to this generic girl.
Yeah.
Like, it's stupid.
We're in Black Flag. Weren't you playing yourself?
No, you were literally a game developer in Black Flag.
I was like,
literally.
This is interesting. Though, I think that Assassin's Creed 3 died. That's when it died at 3. But I thought the ships were cool.
Yeah.
The ship was a good direction. I was like, oh shit. What are they doing with this? They're bringing it back.
They're making their own game with it.
Black Flag was where I stopped. I was like, Black Flag's pretty cool. And then after that, I was like, I am never playing another one of these games ever again.
Well, if you like Black Flag, you know that Ubisoft's making that a whole pirate gameplay. They took the gameplay from Black Flag and it's making their own franchise out of it.
But is it Assassin's Creed?
No.
So it's dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Assassin's Creed is dead. But we just made a whole bunch of points about why we played 4. So technically, did it really die at 3?
I think...
Or did it die at 4 because they introduced a new concept that people actually liked?
I would say it died at Unity because that's when everyone said, okay, we've had enough.
Yeah, because that was so buggy when it came out. It was unplayable, I would say.
Which is why Syndicate, even though I enjoyed it a lot, the story is kind of confusing, and even then, the sales for it were drastically lower than anything else in the series.
I never made it to Unity.
That's why they decided to do the whole 2-year gap anyway, because they were like,
it wasn't even a 2-year gap. Oh, let's release the Ezio collection, which is even fully remastered. They just updated the graphics. Barely.
Yeah. Now, Jake, you haven't said a whole lot throughout all this, so go ahead and tell us your opinion.
Well, I feel like most of what I was thinking has pretty much already been said. I liked Unity too, but I definitely wouldn't say it was like a high point or anything. I thought it was pretty meh. It was okay. It was definitely better than Unity coming from that, but yeah.
Maybe if it's not dead.
I mean, what I was thinking has pretty much already been said. I can't really say anything else that hasn't been said already.
I maybe.
All right, so I think we're all in agreement that it kind of just died at 3.
Maybe I don't think that it died at 3. I think that it started dying.
Yeah, the
And
public
it's on
interest.
its way.
Yeah.
The public
Because
interest is dying.
it's still going. It's still selling well. The games are still generally got good reviews. You know what I mean? I don't think Origins
Yeah.
is bad despite the micro.
Yeah, but this is our opinion. When did it die? It died at 3.
Pretty much.
Four Rangers did a new concept, which kind of brought it to light a little bit, but then it was just kind of like, I like the ships, but none of the other crap.
3 fatally wounded it. I'll give
Just
it that.
don't
That's my
bring up
opinion.
the movie.
You're right.
Don't bring up the movie.
I forgot there was a movie.
I had a
No, we're not going there.
No, it's funny.
I've never seen the movie, but
Neither
we're
have
not
I.
going
No,
there.
I just want to tell a story. I actually bought the Ezio collection day one because, I love those games. I want to play them on PS4. It came with a free ticket to the movie, and I still didn't go.
Damn.
Like, damn.
It looked that bad.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on to a different one. I think we're all in agreement that Assassin's Creed died at about 3.
I want to talk about a specific game franchise that I
That's
think you're
fair.
going to hate me for talking about.
No, you go ahead.
Yeah, Banjo-Kazooie, because it's technically not dead. Because ukulele...
It died at 2.
Ukulele...
It died at 2.
Ukulele is the same fucking game.
2?
No, it is not.
It died at 2.
I platinumed it. It's the same kind of game.
Listen to me.
Kind of game.
It may be a platformer.
It's a
it may
spiritual
have
successor.
2 characters that are animals. It may have them being in tandem, and it may be a puzzle.
He's wearing
collect-a-thon.
shorts.
But here's the deal. It is not a Banjo-Kazooie game. It will never be a Banjo-Kazooie
It's
game.
the spiritual successor. It's the open world collect.
I'm gonna tell you something about spiritual succession. It's a bunch of bull cooey. Hey, no more.
He's so mad his speech deteriorated.
But we could all agree that we like the Banjo-Kazooie racing, right?
No, it died at 2. I love Banjo-Kazooie. I love Banjo-Tooie. That is one of my favorite
I love nuts and
game
bolts.
franchises. But beyond Banjo-Tooie, there is nothing. There is nothing beyond that. And I don't care what you say. It doesn't matter if it has Banjo-Kazooie in the title. It is not a Banjo-Kazooie game after it left Nintendo.
That's a fair point.
After Rareware said, hey, let's not make any more games for Nintendo, it died.
Well, it's not even their fault. Microsoft just bought them. They had no say in the matter.
It doesn't even matter to me. They died when they left Nintendo.
I agree. That's why I think this new company Platonics with ukulele and any better game.
It is horrible.
I liked it.
I think A Hat in Time does a better job than
See, I've not
Ukulele
played that
does.
yet.
What do you've played A Hat in Time, Jake? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's really fun. It honestly reminds me more of like a Mario game than Banjo-Kazooie because it's not really like an open world. It's like you go back to the world multiple times and things change each time you come back to it, similar to like Sunshine.
Yeah.
In each level. But the hat mechanics in it and stuff are really fun. I like it a lot.
I haven't played it, so I can't have an opinion on it.
Yeah, see,
but it's not a Banjo-Kazooie game, is what you're saying.
No.
Right. It's a
not.
collectathon. It's the same
ironically
genre.
enough, I would say that Mario Odyssey feels more like a Banjo-Kazooie game than a Mario game at some
Honestly,
points.
yeah. You go to
Yeah.
different worlds and you just collect
Exactly.
things around. If anything, that's closer to it.
And Mario Odyssey is a
Yeah.
good game.
It's amazing.
Therefore,
But it's not Banjo.
it's not Banjo-Kazooie, however. But what I'm saying is if we're going to go ahead and name a spiritual successor for Banjo-Kazooie, I'd rather it be Mario Odyssey than it be fucking... I don't even remember the game.
Ukulele.
Ukulele.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm out.
That was my opinion. I liked it. I platinumed it.
I want to talk about Resident Evil.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Because
Now, I don't have a giant opinion on this because I never really played a whole lot of Resident Evil games. The most I've played is a little bit of 4. I played 5 with you at
you
co-op, and we started Resident Evil 7.
Yeah, we did play a little bit of 6. I don't know if you remember that. but
I
we
don't
did.
remember 6.
Yeah, that's good that you don't. But I honestly think that after 4, it started dying. Because, like, a lot. Like, rapidly. Because there was 5, and I was like, okay, it's all right. And then 6 was like, oh god, stop. Capcom, what are you doing? And then with 7, honestly, I think they might have revitalized it. Honestly, I think that it might have brought it back and that it's not dying anymore currently.
Yeah.
That's what I think. Because Resident Evil 7, I haven't beaten it, but I've watched people play it on YouTube. I've played the first like half of it, and then I've watched it all the way through to its, and I've watched. So I think that it brought it back.
I would agree, even though I've never played a Resident Evil game in my life.
Yeah.
I have watched a lot of videos on them, though.
Jake, have you played any Resident Evil games?
Yes, I really enjoy the Resident Evil games. They're awesome.
Now,
How do you feel about 6?
I mean, I played it through the 4 campaigns in it, and I thought I had fun playing them, but it definitely didn't feel Resident Evil. To me, it felt kind of like Dead Space, mixed with like a action-y third-person shooter game, which really isn't what I was looking for. But I still enjoyed the experience. It just wasn't Resident Evil.
Rest in peace, Visceral Games.
now,
I feel bad.
now listen here. You just brought up a very interesting title that I didn't actually think about until right now, and that's Dead Space.
I love Dead Space 1. Dead Space 1 is one of my favorite horror games.
Dead Space 1 is amazing, but here's where we really have to start splitting hairs. Do you think that Dead Space 1 is where Dead Space should have stayed and it died there?
Honestly, yes. I liked Dead Space 2, but I didn't like the direction that I saw they were going. And then when Dead Space 3 came out, I was like, I knew it. I knew it, you know?
Now, I've never actually played through Dead Space 3, the single campaign. I played co-op, and I think it was with you. I'm not 100%
played co-op
on
together.
that. I never played through the single-player campaign. From what I understand, if you play Dead Space 3 by yourself, it's a little bit closer to the first game in ways of horror and a little bit less action-y than if you're playing the co-op version, but I don't know that for sure.
I played it solo by myself. I would say that it's just as action-y as the second one is.
And I think that's what we can agree on, is that it died because it became more action-based and more fighting-based than it was about the actual atmosphere and scares that the game would bring you in the first one.
But is that because that they tried to make it more action-y? Or is it... Well, because Dead Space 1 was scary because it was new. You get in the ship and you're like, whoa, what the fuck is this? And then the thing comes out of the outfit, you're like, ah! You know, but then they can't just do the same stuff again because that got you already, you know? So is it not scary and more actiony anymore because of like the game mechanics in 2, or is it just because we're familiar with it?
See, I think they took a lot away from Dead Space 1 whenever they started adding more people. Whenever you didn't feel as alone on the ship. Because in the first one, there were people, but you were always cut off from them. And even when they came around, you knew they were going to be gone in the next couple seconds.
Yeah, they're either dead or they're gone or they send you somewhere and you can't get back to them, or they just talk to you through the holocom things.
And on top of that, here's another kicker that I think really drove a nail into Dead Space 2 that just made it hemorrhage all over the place.
I want to guess.
Go ahead, guess.
Is it his wife?
No. What really I think
I know what it is.
ruined that franchise in ways of making you feel isolated was Isaac talked.
Yep.
Ooh.
He started talking, and that ruins it. Because in the first one, he never talks. You hear the grunts, and you hear him struggling, and you hear all his pain.
Link
but you
syndrome.
don't hear anything in ways of how he feels about things, because you can project what you feel about everything into the game because the protagonist doesn't have a say in it.
Yeah, you're like, I'm scared, so the person is scared. I don't know. I mean, if the main action guy's like, whatever, I don't give a fuck. I've killed so many necro whatever phages, and you're like, well, I mean, I guess I shouldn't be scared. This guy knows what he's doing.
Yeah, that's what I call a Link syndrome. Like, that's why Link will never talk. Ever. Like, you gotta pour yourself into the character.
Now, did you play any of the Dead Space games, Jake?
I played the first one. That's as far as my knowledge on Dead Space goes.
Good, stay there.
You're good. You don't need to play the second or even the
I'm
third
serious. Just stay at Dead Space 1 because I loved Dead Space 1. That's why I bought 2 and 3, because I loved Dead Space 1 so much. And they just killed it after 1 because they took all of the horror elements and just kind of took all the bite out of them.
Yeah.
Because Dead Space 1, I legitimately got scared.
I did too. I almost like didn't want to play that game out of anxiety.
Because things would happen in there, and I would just have to set the controller down. I'd have to pause the game, set the controller down, and walk away for a minute. Because it scared the living crap out of me. And Dead Space 2 and 3, I never felt that feeling.
Nope. I was like, all right, more necro babies are coming out. Time to slaughter them all.
And I think it's a mixture of the protagonist is no longer a projection of yourself, and the people talking to you constantly.
I have an interesting topic that we should move on to. Mass Effect.
Ooh, Andromeda.
snap.
Ooh, no.
See,
Now, I can't have a whole lot of opinion on this because I've only played through partially the first one, and I've watched you play the second one a little bit, but I've never actually made it past the first one, so...
let's all just be clear. The second Mass Effect game is the best Mass Effect game.
I just know
Yes.
from the Mass Effect series that the ending to 3 is the most what the fuck ending of all time.
See, I thought the ending to 3 was fine. People just like to bitch. People were like, oh no,
Yeah.
but I saved Susie in the first game. Doesn't that change the ending in 3? It's like, no, if I buy a banana this morning, that doesn't mean that I'm not going to get not pulled over for speeding. I don't know. It doesn't affect it.
Okay, so here's a little bit of a segue that I didn't actually plan on going to. So, choice-based games.
Yeah.
And I know this is probably a different topic, but I just feel like it's something that needs to be addressed, and I'm really thinking about it now. So whenever it comes to choice-based games, that's something that you hear across every single game is, do my choices actually matter? I saved Johnny Jim in the first game, so Johnny Jim should do something cool in the second game.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
That's fair.
But, like, when it comes to it, there's always a formula to where they go from point A to point B or point C. They might have a branching path to point B or C, but you're to point B or C. There's no, like, in between.
Yeah, you always go to the same planets, basically. I mean, you might get to pick the order in Mass Effect 1, and 2. But you do the same stuff no matter what you pick.
Right.
So I think that's a little bit of the argument on the side where people are like, well, my choices don't actually matter then.
It's like, well, I mean, I don't know, they matter to you then, don't they?
Yeah.
I mean, you
That's
saved
fair.
the girl. Don't you feel good about that? I don't know. You're supposed to. Be like,
You're
I
a
don't
nice
get a
guy.
reward for saving the chick? Fuck her then. I don't know.
See, I think what people want, and something that is completely out of the realm of possibilities as the way of technology is right now, is they want the game to go, okay, you did this, this, and this. Here's your own unique ending.
Everyone can't get a unique ending. And even if they add, I don't know, 300 endings, are any of them even going to be meaningful at that point? You know
Exactly.
What I mean? Or is it going to be like, it's just like, oh, here's a short slideshow of all the choices you made. There's your unique ending. You know what I mean?
Well, here's the other thing. You could make the most small, tiniest decisions in the game,
And it doesn't. Oh.
and it's going to affect... So you make 300 endings. Well, that 299 and 298
Are pretty much the same, right?
are pretty much the same. There might be minuscule differences like, oh, your hair's blue in this one, your hair is red in this one because you made this specific choice.
Yeah.
You literally just described Chrono Trigger in a nutshell.
I've never played Chrono Trigger, so
There's
I don't
like
know
literally,
exactly.
I think, 20 endings. And half of them are just like the difference between like, oh, you let this one character join your party or not. That's like some of them like the only difference.
So even are they different endings at that point?
Exactly.
I don't know. Are they different?
See, 'cause that's
the same
what I
ending
feel
with
like
different people.
that's what I feel like the biggest argument people have when it's to like those choice-based games is like, I don't feel like my ending was special enough. And it's like, what do you want?
Yeah. What do you want?
Do you want an evolving game that changes completely with every single decision that you make and just changes the game completely? Because that's not something that can be done with the current way we do things now.
People talk about that a lot with the Telltale games. They're like, oh, it all ends up at the same anyway. And I'm like, well, yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like a TV show video game. What do you expect? They can't make like 500 fucking endings.
Well,
You're only going to play through the game like once or twice. What's the point?
Isn't it about the journey and not the destination?
That's what I think. I was like, why does it matter at the end of Mass Effect 3 if there's
Like,
only
did you have fun getting there?
Yes, but now I'm pissed at the end because I only had 3 choices. I thought it was a Mass Effect game. Where's my 50 billion choices? So I didn't understand the outrage for the end of 3.
But you do get
Yeah.
the fact that everyone's mad over the Andromeda faces, right?
Yeah, okay, so
Yeah.
let's move on.
Yeah, let's
to,
move back. Let's shift gears back to where we were. All right, so Andromeda. I don't know anything about it, but go.
Like literally, the face technology in that game is horrendous because who makes the game? BioWare.
Yeah.
They outsourced the game to like this weird developer and like was rushing technology to get the game out and like barely gave it the time of day, which is why Mass Effect is officially dead. They're putting it on ice.
Which makes me sad because
Me
It's their
too.
fault.
they're going to look at that and they're going to go, aw, nobody wants any more Mass Effect games, I guess. Sorry for making another one. We're like, no, you fucking idiots. Do it right. We'll buy another one. Make it another Mass Effect 2 or even another Mass Effect 3. It doesn't even have to honestly be that different. People don't want more different. They just want more continuation, even if it's not a continuation of the story, but more a continuation of what that game is. That's what they want.
Right.
And they're like, open world and the characters don't matter. And we're like, what? Is this even a BioWare game?
Although I am excited for Anthem. Side tangent.
Yeah.
I think they just saw the trend that people really enjoy open world games now. And they were like, hey, we can do that, only nothing's going to matter anymore as far as story goes in an open world.
See, I'm not... If they could make the story matter still in the open world, just like make the more spaces open world, that'd be fine with me. Like add some side quests in or whatever. But like, they're like, fuck story. No one likes story. Like, what they do in this game, it depends on what game it is.
See, from what I'm gathering from what you're saying is they just completely entirely shifted gears. Yeah. They were like, let's have this really nice story-driven, a whole lot of adventure on these specific planets and characters that matter to
that's what it is.
Let's just have a giant open world where you can go do whatever you want, but none of it really matters. Sorry, I just...
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. And so, like, the combat and the gameplay might be cool, but it's not what people wanted from a Mass Effect game. And that's not even talking about all the fucking bugs that were in it when it came out.
Let's circle back around to when do you think that franchise died? Was it Andromeda or was it 3?
Yes.
I would say it's 3 because then like, let's bring it back at Andromeda, and then it totally failed because they fucked it up.
But they didn't bring back 3, I don't think.
No, they brought back Andromeda. Like, Andromeda was the whole like revitalization of the franchise. And
so I think it died. Andromeda killed it, is what I'm saying.
That's fair enough point. Yeah.
So in a way, this is how I feel about it. It's kind of like the whole spiritual successor with Banjo-Kazooie and nuts and bolts and all that bullshit. If Andromeda had followed suit with a template set forth by 1, 2, and 3, do you think the franchise would still be kicking?
Yes.
For sure. It would be 100%.
They would make a new trilogy. I would bet every money on that.
That was the plan to begin with, is that they were going to be like, all right, this new writer guy, he's getting his own trilogy. You know what I mean? And then they were like, oh, no one cares about him, I guess, even though we didn't make him a likable character.
Does EA own BioWare?
Yeah.
That explains
they do now.
Everything.
EA is like, we like open world games with loot boxes. We like Assassin's Creed. We like the Watch Dogs. Does your game have towers? Can you climb towers in it?
It's pronounced watch_dogs.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
All right. Let's go ahead and move on to. We've basically talked about that one as much as possible. We've.
Okay.
All right. Sorry, I'm looking at my list here for those of you who can't see because it's a podcast. So the next one, I think we don't have it on this list, but a game that is kind of near and dear to my heart, Halo.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Now that's a franchise that I feel like everyone connects over, even though it's technically one of those FPS bro games.
I've only played 2, so that's the only one I've beaten.
That's fine. Two's the best one in my opinion.
Have you played Halo?
Yes, I think I
where
played
did
all
you
of
stop?
them.
You've played all of them? Okay.
I haven't played 5.
Yes.
I've played all the way up to 4. I haven't gotten to 5 yet because I don't own an Xbox One.
Neither do I.
So, but what I feel like is the game franchise really was kicking all the way up until 3.
And then they changed developers.
They changed developers, yeah.
After 3, yeah.
After 3, they changed developers, and it went a whole, like... I wouldn't say a whole new direction because it's still carrying along the same storyline, but I feel like they're relying too much on one trope.
Yeah.
And that's the fact that the relationship between Chief and Cortana. I feel like they took that out of Halo 3, which was not what I feel like Halo 3 was about, and they ran with it in 4.
Yeah, that's what...
Then you will not like 5.
Yeah.
I haven't played 5.
I'm not telling you anything. I'm just saying I know the ending, and it's... Oh, boy.
But whenever it went from Halo 3 being about, the crisis, the arc, and the really I feel like the world-saving stuff, yeah, and the flood and all that kind of stuff, they jumped to 4 and they were like, okay, so all that stuff, all that crisis, everything like that, let's focus on the relationship between Chief and Cortana and then throw a little bit of Forerunner BS right in the background.
Yeah, I still don't understand what happened, honestly, with the Forerunners. Maybe that's just on me. I don't understand. I played 4. I don't get it.
I understand exactly what you're talking about. The only reason I even know about that is because I really paid attention.
Yeah.
But if you're just taking the game for face value, it's a love story between Chief and Cortana the entire time.
Yeah.
And then the Forerunner is literally in the background being the conflict that nobody really cares about.
Yeah, I think the game started dying at 4. I haven't played 5, but it seems to be going the same way. And I think that's a bad thing for Microsoft because they're like, yeah, Halo was going to sell Xboxes. I don't think that's true anymore.
I mean, I would say Cuphead is selling more Xbox now than Halo ever did.
Honestly, yeah, if you don't have a PC.
Yeah.
But yeah, for the most part, I think it died at 3. And I think we're running across an interesting little connection here. We seem to be dying a lot of games at 3.
Yeah, sometimes. I'm trying to think of a game that died at 2 now.
Well, technically, Assassin's Creed 3 is Assassin's Creed 5.
Well, okay, I think Assassin's Creed 3 killed it. I don't think Halo 3 killed it.
Well,
that's true. Halo 3 was
after
good.
Halo 3.
It died after. Okay, so yeah, okay. I guess our rule of 3 doesn't reply there.
Yes,
but I think on an average, we can safely assume that 3s seem to be what kills a game franchise.
It is very hard to close any trilogy.
Because if we're just talking about sales-wise, we're not even talking about our personal opinions. Dead Space 3, dead.
Yep.
Halo 3, good, dead. And then, what is it? I'm trying to think of it off the top of my head right now.
Okay,
I'm sure if Banjo 3E would have came out...
Rest in peace.
It would have died at 3E.
I got one that didn't die at 3, that died earlier. Well, not entirely, but has anyone played Dragon Age? Any of those games?
I tried out Inquisition when I first got my PS4, and I could not get into it.
I think I played Inquisition.
Well, me and Jake played Dragon Age, so we'll talk about that. Dragon Age 1, really good. Dragon Age 2 is a piece of dog shit.
Yes.
and then it was Dragon Age Inquisition, right?
Yeah.
That was the PS4.
And then that one was okay. I don't think it was good enough to bring it back. What do you think?
About Inquisition or just the series in general?
Just the series in general.
I for sure agree. 1 is one of my favorite RPGs. It has a very old school kind of RPG feel to it.
Yeah. Almost feels like old BioWare games, in my opinion.
Yeah, which it is BioWare, so.
Never mind. I don't know why I thought that.
But 2 is just the story's not as interesting, and it's the scenery in that game is just so ugly. It's corridor after corridor,
and they reuse all the same stuff. It's it's a different cave. They're like, oh, now go to this cave, but it's the same layout. You're like, okay, am I just supposed to pretend? So I think that they did better with Inquisition, to where I think if they made another one following that suit, that it would do better. But I think that they almost fucking killed it too. They were like, oh shit.
For sure.
Yeah, that was rough. I was excited for Dragon Age 2, and I played it, and I finished it, but I was like, damn. I don't know what they were thinking.
To me, what I think is the most interesting part in the Dragon Age games is the world. I think the world they've created is really interesting and cool. But in 2, they made the focus to the main character. They're like, look how cool this guy is. Fuck the world. This guy's a badass. And I'm like, I don't care about this guy. I want to know about the world.
Yeah, in the first one, you weren't even really that special. You just met cool people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we're like, we got this cool witch and this cool king guy, and
you were cool by association.
Exactly.
You were the nerd.
Right. They tried to make the guy in 2, I think his name's Hawk. They just tried to make him Dragon Age's Commander Shepard, and it didn't work.
Nope. Then they were like, oh fuck, kill it.
Yeah.
And they did. Thank God. If they would have done another one like 2, it would have been dead for sure. It would have been like a cancellation, like a Dead Space, not coming back.
So do you think in the next few years, I'm not saying recently, that Dragon Age could make a comeback?
I think so.
They're working on it.
They're already working on another
it.
one. Yeah, they're working on another one. And I think that I don't know for sure yet, but if they follow what Inquisition did and they run with that, make it better, I think it'll be great.
So you think it just needs a little bit of fine-tuning and then it can move forward?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
There's one franchise that I'm really scared is dead because of how the company's treating it.
What's that?
Elder Scrolls.
Yes, I definitely wanted to get into some Elder Scrolls because that's a AAA title that I feel like is in the heart of a whole lot of people. And Bethesda, up until recently, has been the company for games.
Bethesda has been oh shit, they got this, you know?
Like, just recently,
Right.
too. Like, you got Dishonored, Skyrim, Fallout 4,
Wolfenstein
2, Wolfenstein, Prey.
Yep.
See, I don't know if this franchise is dead, per se, but at the rate that they're going, they could very well kill off the Elder Scrolls.
I'm just worried because it feels like they're trying to make Skyrim like an MMO, almost like a pay-to-service, like a game for a service. Like,
well, like, here's my deal. So we went through the beginning of it, which is, what is it, Arena?
yeah,
And
Arena.
then
Daggerfall.
Daggerfall, and then Morrowind. And then Morrowind's where it really took off.
Morrowind's where it set the Elder Scrolls that we know today. Obviously, Morrowind has not aged well. It's one of my favorite ones, but it set the, we need to have a good world. We need to have a lot of places for the character to go.
a lot of lore, a lot of side
factions.
quests.
That
a lot
game
of,
needs a remake.
And they ran with that, and it worked, and they just, honestly, to me, they just kind of fine-tuned the small stuff and just kind of kept with the times.
and then they jumped. They didn't just walk forward to the next game. They jumped to Oblivion.
They did, yeah. It's the difference from Morrowind to Oblivion. You would
It's
think there was 10
astronomical.
years or something.
You'd think it's a huge difference. In Oblivion, God bless its soul, is probably one of the best Elder Scrolls games I've played. But that isn't because of the kind of game it is. Now, see, they've been remastering and doing all kinds of bullshit to Skyrim when they really should be focusing on Morrowind, because the only reason I will not say Morrowind beats Oblivion is not because of the game content. It's because of the way that I perceive the game. I go into that game expecting the wrong things.
Yeah, you go into it expecting Oblivion or Skyrim, at least Oblivion.
I mean, I understand I'm at fault here, but when it comes to that game, I don't want to sit there, read walls of texts.
Yep,
I
and
don't
you
want to
have
sit there and
Right.
figure out where I need to go through all these faceless NPCs that I just don't give a shit about.
Yeah, and it's not like, I don't know, maybe in a lot of MMOs, you can just kind of I know that lore is important in those games too, but you can just kind of skip the quest logs and just kind of go and do the quests.
Right.
You can't do that in Morrowind. You'll have no idea what the fuck you're doing. You won't even be able to progress if you don't read the things, because they didn't have a map marker, so they literally tell you where to go. They're like, go down the road about 2 miles and hang a left at the big tree.
And then you're going to talk to Bob.
Yeah, which is awful. But they did the stuff that they needed to do right in Morrowind, and then they fixed the stuff that they did wrong in Oblivion, and that's why I think Oblivion is so good.
And that's why Oblivion...
I think that the world could have been more interesting in Oblivion, because the reason I like Morrowind so much is because it's whoa, there's the big mushroom things,
and
there's
it's
the weird...
huge.
There's, for its time, yeah, there's the weird mages and the lore is still in Oblivion, but it's just we got castles and forests. I don't know, every RPG is castles and forests and wolves and bears. There's no interesting creatures besides the Daedra. That's the only thing that I think they did wrong.
Now, I do like the conflict in Oblivion. I feel like that's where they
interesting.
really
It's cool.
shined, was the conflict of the Oblivion crisis. And that's where they died in Skyrim.
Yep.
And I feel like, I'm not saying the franchise is dead, because it's not yet, obviously. But I feel like if it were going to die, Skyrim would be the tipping point.
Yeah, the next game
Needs to be amazing.
It needs to be
Yeah.
amazing. Otherwise,
Because they keep porting there's for how many consoles Skyrim is on is almost absurd.
well, it's easier for them to do that.
Well,
Well, that's why they're doing it. They
here-
can just print money and people buy
Here's
it.
why I say
bought it.
Skyrim is probably the tipping point if it were to die at Skyrim. It's not because they keep trying to remaster it. It's not because they keep trying to do all this extra stuff with it. It's because of the way they did the game. They didn't have a good conflict. This is the conflict in Skyrim summed up in one sentence. Dragon come boom boom, you go kill dragon.
Pretty much. And then there's a civil war in the background. and
Nobody
you're
cares about the Civil
nobody-
War.
No one cares. No one gives a fuck. Maybe
It literally does not affect the game at all, which side you choose and what you do during the Civil War. One side wins, one side doesn't. It doesn't change anything. You all get the exact same things.
The only thing it changes is that it changes some NPCs' locations, like
and it changes how they look.
Yeah,
that's it.
Like cool.
And they're like, okay, cool. The Stormcloaks are in charge of stuff.
Now they're all wearing Stormcloak armor.
Yeah,
gotcha.
like it's a new y'all.
But like that's it. But the main conflict in the game is supposed to be the meat of it. And the meat in Oblivion was the whole Oblivion crisis. The whole thing. And then they had this big build-up to a big boss. And the big boss was the most interesting part of the game.
It was cool to
The
me.
big boss in Skyrim was Alduin.
And you only see him like twice before you kill him.
And when you go to kill him, he is the easiest NPC in the game to kill.
Oh, yeah.
I played it on the hardest difficulty. I beat him in probably 5 minutes.
Because Dragonrend, OP.
And on top of that, fighting him, you get help.
Oh,
one.
the 3 champions. I forgot about that.
And 2, he can't do anything. And then 3, he just dies like that.
I would say, though, I know like this is like a kind of side option, but with the DLC with Dragonborn, Mirak totally fixed that problem for me. Like, he constantly was taunting you throughout the entire time you were playing the DLC, stealing your dragon souls that you have earned when you need to unlock a shout. And he was kind of that big moment. Like,
Mirak was a cool boss. I thought that was fun.
and his fight was awesome.
See, if they had taken that... Sorry, what were you saying?
I was just saying I agree.
Okay.
That's all I said.
Sorry. So if they had taken that concept and morphed that into Alduin, I feel like that would have been a better enemy.
And see, I think that's a complaint on Skyrim, but I don't think that necessarily has to reflect in the next game, because they always take place hundreds of years later anyway.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a new crisis. It's going to be something new. Heck, they might even be alluding to it in some of the lore in this one. Like in Oblivion, you could read books, not in Oblivion, in Morrowind, you could read some of the books in the games, and they were like, oh shit, gates are opening in Oblivion, shit's going down, and then 100 years later, it really picks up. They're like, oh, fuck. But you wouldn't have known that just playing Morrowind. You'd have been like, oh, cool, they're having some fucking problems down there.
And I feel like another reason why the conflict in Oblivion was so ramped up compared to Skyrim is the fact that Oblivion was a world crisis.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, the whole world was going to end.
Is a Skyrim crisis.
And who gives a fuck about backwards Skyrim?
I mean,
exactly.
Ultimately, if he's going to destroy Skyrim, he's going to destroy the world. They don't say it, but he's the world eater for a reason.
Yeah, I know, but he just doesn't feel like it.
I know.
He doesn't do anything.
I agree with you. I'm just saying,
he just flies around.
Context.
Did he destroy anything?
In Oblivion, there's a destroyed town from the Oblivion crisis.
Yeah,
he destroyed Helgen.
That wasn't like Kvatch, though. Come on.
No, Kvatch.
Sorry, I've never played
destroyed.
I've never played Oblivion, so I can't even
Just imagine this. Okay, so you live in the town that you live in. Imagine it completely razed to the ground, black everywhere, and nobody living.
It's basically like fucking Doom, but in Oblivion. There's demons running around
I
everywhere.
haven't played that game. I have not played it yet.
Doom?
Yeah.
Oh, there's demons everywhere.
But it's seriously like that. You see that, and you see the devastation the Oblivion Gates have reaped across the land, and then you see in Skyrim the dragons, and you're like, the dragon shows up sometimes and kills the horses.
Literally, all he does, all Alduin does, is he destroys Helgen, and then you find him resurrecting that dragon that you immediately kill again.
Yeah.
Well, that's all he doesn't do anything. He doesn't have a presence.
He's just there. He doesn't yeah, you were just right. You're right. I can't say anything else.
He doesn't have a presence. Oblivion is a constant presence.
What were you going to say, Jake?
I always thought it kind of took away from the threat of the dragons whenever one shows up in a town, every old lady mopping her deck will drop her broom to go punch the dragon in the face.
But it's so funny though.
That is true.
It does take away from it.
I think that falls back to the whole protagonist. You're taking away from the protagonist sphere. Because in Oblivion, when they showed up at the Oblivion Gates, people ran. They just ran the other direction. They hid.
Yeah,
the guards would go and attack because that's their job. And some of the guards would run. But in Skyrim, you're right. Every old lady and the dogs would just go and fucking attack the dragon.
And sometimes they even kill the dragon without my help.
That's just the Nord way.
What do you even need me for then?
That's just the Nord way.
But yeah, I feel like if they don't really figure out what they're doing in the next installment of the Elder Scrolls series,
It could, yeah.
it could be the tipping point at Skyrim, because I don't feel like that game left an impression on me.
I mean, neither did Elder Scrolls Online.
See, but Elder Scrolls Online when it came out was ass. And honestly, it's just like your opinion. But I like Elder Scrolls Online right now. I think it's in a good spot.
I only played it when it came out, and I dropped it hard.
Here's the deal with the Elder Scrolls Online and why I don't feel like it has that big of an effect on
No, I don't think it does.
the franchise. Elder Scrolls Online's an MMO, and I know people have really high opinions of MMOs, but when it comes to an MMO, it's a side project. An MMO does not matter.
It's not even by the same... It's not like Bethesda's giving manpower to work on the MMO
it's ZeniMax, right?
Yeah, it's ZeniMax.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it's a completely different studio.
It's a completely different studio. It's
just got
completely
the lore,
different, like, world entirely. It's just, it's got the lore of the game.
And honestly, I think they do the lore really good in the game because it takes place way before
Everything.
Morrowind and all that, before Morrowind exploded. So if you like Morrowind, Oblivion, and Skyrim, or are interested in the lore, I would play Elder Scrolls Online just for that.
Morrowind exploded?
Yeah.
I never put
the
Morrowind.
mountain exploded, and that's why there's ash everywhere.
Yeah,
Holy shit.
That's why it looks like shit in 3.
See, the only taste I have of Morrowind is in, obviously, the DLC in Skyrim, when you go to Solheim.
And that's even just a tiny little island.
Yeah.
But,
you can see, like, the big island off in the distance.
But yeah, so the franchise itself,
Tipping point.
you better watch out, Bethesda, and I'm saying this as a friend who really likes you. You better watch out because you're at the tipping point on Elder Scrolls. Now another Bethesda game.
I knew you were going there.
Well, we got to. It's a really nice,
have
it's
to.
really easy way to get there. We got to go there because it's their other big hitter. And that's the Fallout series.
All right, I have an unpopular opinion. I really like Fallout 4. I don't know. I thought it was really good, and it's everything that I expected.
Yeah, it is exactly what I expected.
It's what I wanted. This is the most unpopular opinion. It's what I wanted Fallout New Vegas to be. Now, if that makes me a bad gamer, that's fine. But Fallout 4 is what I wanted Fallout New Vegas to be. I'm sorry.
Now, in Fallout 3 is my favorite.
Oh, same, for sure.
By
100%.
far. Fallout 3 is my favorite because of the story that it has. Now, the way I feel like they're progressing is the only way that I can take away from Fallout 4. Because Fallout 4, I agree, I like Fallout 4, and it was exactly what I expected. But it's the fact that it was exactly what I expected that's wrong. And it's not something like, oh, I hate the game, I'm never going to play it again because it's exactly what I expected. It's because if they keep that same progression by just meeting my expectations, I'm going to get bored with it.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, it didn't blow you away.
It wasn't like,
Oblivion
blew
me away.
Yeah, Oblivion blew me away.
Oblivion changed my whole gaming experience. Honestly,
Oblivion
I was like, I can kill anyone I want. I can steal this apple.
Oblivion was my first M-rated game I've ever played. You were the one who introduced me to
I
it.
brought it over to your house, and I was like, I put the game in, and I gave Alex the controller. He's like, "What do you do? What are the levels?" And I was like, "You're in it. You're in the level." And he's like, "What? Can I just kill anyone?" And I was like, "You could try." And he killed the guard, and he got killed. And he was like, "This is amazing."
That's exactly my reaction, and it opened my mind to so many things. Now, Oblivion's no longer rated M.
Yeah.
Let's just be clear about that. It's no longer rated M. They bumped the standards up for the ESRB, and it's T now. Even though Skyrim is M, even though it's...
It's because you can see panties.
You can do that in Oblivion.
Yeah, but they're bigger panties than Oblivion.
I mean,
I guess.
those Nord ladies, they got some hips.
But we're falling back into Elder Scrolls. But let's move back to the Fallout franchise. So the Fallout franchise started out Fallout 1. Fallout 1 was was it the top down? Or
Yeah,
was
it's
that
the top down.
Okay,
Fallout 1 and 2. And honestly, those were really good. If they would have kept making games like those, I think they would have been popular, but they wouldn't have been as popular for sure as Fallout 3 was.
Now, Fallout 2 and Fallout 3, you can tell the difference. 150% because it's a completely different engine, it's a completely different world,
Different
and
company.
it's completely different company.
Yeah, it's they did what they made Oblivion, and they were like, let's take the lore from Fallout and make it that. Honestly, that's what they did. And I don't know. The reason I like Fallout 3 so much is because of the world. I know the quest is kind of dumb, like the main quest, going to find your dad. It was kind of cool. But
Find your son. Find your dad. Find your son.
Find your son. Find your sad. Find your mother. But,
No. Find your son is Fallout 4. Find your dad is Fallout 3. Okay, sorry.
Anyway, but I just liked the world. It was desolate. It felt like it had been destroyed. And so then when I played New Vegas, I was like, there's too many people. I don't know. It didn't feel like the world was destroyed. It was just like different scenery. I don't know. That's what it felt like to me.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. In Fallout 3, you could go hours without seeing another sentient person.
People were barely surviving in Fallout 3. Well, to be fair, there's a lot of reasons for that. The nukes hit Washington, D.C. closer. So that...
Well, yeah, because it's the capital.
Exactly. But still, I enjoyed that. I was like, I found there'd be like one or two people living out by themselves, and they'd be like weird and quirky. But then, like, I'd go to Fallout New Vegas and it'd be like, yeah, people are assholes in New Vegas. They just want to...
There is a lore behind that, too.
Which is fine.
Vegas
I understand it.
Is tucked away in mountains and got less of the brunt of the nukes. I get it. But I just feel like that takes away from the universe.
It does. I'd rather play it. I want to play in a shithole where there's like barely anyone still alive and they're weird because for generations they haven't talked to any humans, In
New Vegas, it just feels like you turn a corner, there's another person. They're an asshole, sure. They want to kill you, sure. They're a cannibal, sure. But it's like, I don't know. I'm not scared of you. You're not that crazy. You're not desolate. You're just an asshole.
Yeah, you're just a normal asshole. I have normal assholes in my everyday life. What I did think that Fallout did good and what New Vegas did good and why everyone holds it to such high regard is because they did a lot more with the weapons. There wasn't a lot of weapons in Fallout 3. It didn't feel very interesting. And everything they did with the weapons and the stuff was cool. And even the quest was more like involving, I guess, in Fallout New Vegas. It had more choice, had more options for sure. Like, basically, at the end of Fallout 3, you're like, do you want to be a dick and no one can drink water? And then you're like, I guess I'll be a dick. No one can drink water. And fuck you. It doesn't actually, do anything. It doesn't mean anything. So I can understand that point of it. That's why people like Fallout New Vegas more, is because the main quest is, I don't know, arguably more interesting.
But the mechanics they added in New Vegas were better.
For sure, yeah. The mechanic, you can actually aim down the sights.
Now, see, that's the thing where it really bugs me about whenever people say Fallout 4 was bad. They literally took everything New Vegas added and put it into Fallout 4 and added on to it.
And see, yeah, I think the people just bitch about the main quest, I guess. They didn't like having to find your son, Sean.
Oh, you're finding your son.
I don't even care about the main quest, honestly, that much. All the side quests were really interesting, especially the one that involved the radio guy and the Shroud. I loved pretending to be the Shroud. I'd always do, you could do the little, options where you're the Shroud, you're like, I've come to whoop your ass, I'm the Shroud, and they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? And you're like, I'm actually having fun, I don't know.
The thing about Fallout 4 that I feel like the biggest thing they added to Fallout 4 that was my favorite mechanic was the power armor. And it actually felt like power armor.
Yeah, for sure.
In Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, you put on power armor, you got some good armor. That's it. It's some good armor, add a little bit of strength, whoop-de-doo.
Like in Fallout 4, you feel like Iron Man when you're in that suit.
Yeah.
You step into your power armor, you feel like you've got power armor. You're walking around. Sure, you got that limit of power cells, even though you can get a crap ton of those, by the way. It doesn't really matter.
You can get any of the perks that make them last longer.
But
it's just OP.
The power armor feels like power armor, and it actually feels like when you're in that power armor, you have a presence of, hey, I'm a badass. In Fallout, any of the other Fallouts, it's like, I have power armor, and people are like, you've got power armor.
Cool.
On the other side of that, though, I think that one thing I didn't like about Fallout 4 is that, again, your character talked.
I agree.
But I think they did it better than Dragon Age 2 did it, from what we were talking about earlier.
They 100% did it better than Dead Space did it.
Oh, yeah, 100%. But I still would have liked to just been my own person, kind of role play, I guess.
Yeah, because the thing about it is you can project yourself into the game.
I like games like that. And I know there's games that, like Mass Effect doesn't do that. I'm not my own person in Mass Effect. But that's way more story-driven than Fallout's ever going to be, honestly.
Yeah. Right.
Way more story-driven. You need that person for the people to have the interactions. I don't think you need that in Fallout.
You don't. You really do not need that kind of interaction.
You can just have the text and I can be the things.
Like, people don't socialize in the Wasteland. People socialize in Mass Effect. You mean you're talking in the wasteland? You say what you need to say. You move on. You don't have conversations.
So to conclude, I don't think that the Fallout franchise has hit its dying point yet. Like, maybe if they make the next one and it's super shit, it would be after 4. But I think 4 did just fine, honestly. Even if people have complaints about it, you can't argue that it's bad.
All right. I feel like this conversation's really been on this side the whole time. Jake, is there any franchises that you want to talk about?
There's one I mentioned to Ethan earlier, Saints Row. I really like the Saints Row games.
Oh, yeah, that'd be an interesting one to talk about, because they just they started at, like, I don't know, B, and then they just ended up at, like, fucking 2. It doesn't make sense, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're not going from point A to point B. They went from point A to, like, 7. I don't know.
Right.
So, like, where do you think the franchise started, and where do you think it went?
Well, it started at 1, which 1 and 2 are like my 2 favorites of the whole series. So I think the story is more focused. It's actually like realistic, which is good because that's where it started out at. And then later on, they just went completely insane with it.
Yeah, because
3, I think, is where it started to die, but I actually honestly kind of liked 3, but 4
because I think, isn't 3 where they just kind of went, let's just say fuck it to some stuff?
Pretty much. They were like, all right, we can't directly compete with Grand Theft Auto, so we have to be our own thing. So they were like, fuck it.
Is that the one with the giant purple dildo? Is that number 4?
Both of them, I believe. But 3 is where they added it. They were like, check this out.
That's the only thing I know from the game is that you use a giant.
So you were saying you got to 3 and then you liked 3 and then moving on from there.
Yeah, because with 4, like, I don't really know what happened or why they decided to go this direction, but they're like, because the first 3 are more or less about just a street gang rise from being just like one neighborhood to controlling like a whole city. And then with 4, they're like, everyone gets put in the Matrix, and your character becomes the president of the United States, and now you have superpowers. And I'm like, what? Well, what?
It honestly felt more like Crackdown. I don't know if anyone ever played that, but I was like, whoa, wait a minute.
Yeah,
not in a good way. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's some people who like it, which the gameplay in 4 is fun, but like, it definitely wasn't what I wanted in a Saints Row. I was like, this isn't what I. Yeah, it's like, I don't want to be president. I want to be a gangster, not a superpowered president.
Now, see, do you think that it's because they stepped away from what Saints Row was and didn't just add to it? Because I feel like that's a lot of the themes that we're running across here.
They need to add to it, but keep the core what it's.
It feels
fun.
like the game companies are going, hey, let's just see this what was good about this. Yeah, fuck all that. Let's do this. Instead of going, let's take this and then add on to it. And I feel like that's why the Elder Scrolls and Fallout have continued to go the way they are.
And that's why Mass Effect 2 was so good.
Is because they kept the core values, but they added on to it instead of completely changing the dynamic of the game.
I think that... go ahead.
I was just going to say, they came out... The same company that makes Saints Row came out with Agents of Mayhem recently, which is like an 80s parody of like G.I. Joe type of thing. And I think if they put all their whatever crazy bullshit ideas they have while they're on drugs or whatever in that game, and then they reboot Saints Row and bring it back to ground level, like the story about a street gang's rise to power as a separate series. I think that would be a good idea, because then they can vent their weird thoughts into Agents of Mayhem and put the stuff that people want in Saints Row.
Exactly. They're like, all right, Agents of Mayhem can be our weird what the fuck ever, we're gonna do crazy zany stuff, and we're not gonna be GTA. You know what I mean?
Right.
Which honestly, Agents of Mayhem is nothing like. It's not even like Saints Row anymore. It's like a weird single player MMO Overwatch hybrid thing.
Yeah.
That didn't necessarily work, in my opinion.
So you think that franchise not necessarily died at 2, but definitely switched gears in the wrong direction at 2.
Yes, I would say it evolved, but not in a good way, and not that people who played the first 2 wanted. But it definitely has its own fan base now, at least. I don't know about Agents of Mayhem, but 4 definitely got its own fan base. of people who didn't play the first 3 and were like, I like this. But
so maybe they'll just run with that, I guess, and just, I don't know, alienate the first the first fan base, I guess, that like the first 2 games, and just be like, fuck it, we don't need their money anyway.
Yeah,
it sucks, but
yeah. But they've written themselves into a corner with the Saints Row series if they don't reboot it, because they've done Space, they've done Hell. So where do you go from there?
Yeah, where are they going to go?
You go to heaven.
like
Heaven sword.
Well, then they're just going to piss a whole bunch of people off.
That's the joke.
Yeah.
But all right, so let's go ahead and kind of take a recap here as we get towards the end of the podcast. So I think what we've really learned about these franchise deaths, or the reason that franchises are kind of tapering off, isn't because the games are bad necessarily. It's because they took the core values of the games that succeeded and threw them out the window.
Pretty much.
Instead of adding on to them.
Yeah. I can agree with that in almost every case.
The only exception I would say to this rule is Legend of Zelda. Because Breath of the Wild took everything we knew about Zelda, threw it out the window, and has now become one of the best Zelda games.
But it's got the core stuff that I want from a Zelda game.
Exactly.
And that's what's important.
Yeah, it's okay if they add on to it. It's okay if it's different, but you've got to keep the core values
like
of the universe.
I get your
It has that sense of adventure. It's got, all the cool items.
They just changed the gameplay.
And so I think that's
right.
Fun.
They just kind of went, hey, Majora's Mask, because that's the last Zelda game I remember playing. Majora's Mask has got all this. What if we just added the fact that you can have different weapons and run around and do cool things with other people?
Yeah, pretty much.
And people don't sound like they actually talk.
As long as Link doesn't talk, I'm okay with other people talking.
Exactly.
Right.
What were you going to say, Jake?
I think if game developers look at what made the games that people liked, like what they liked about them, rather than looking at like what's trendy in games at the time and being like, oh, let's go with that, then they'd probably be better off. Because like with Dead Space and Resident Evil that we were talking about, like they made the heroes into like action badass, kick everything in the face action heroes, instead of being like these people who don't know what's going on and are constantly scared because they're like, oh, well, people
and
like
they're trying to figure things out, and that's what makes them relatable.
Yeah, because not every game has to be this open world sandbox, climb towers and reveal the map bullshit. I like games like that, honestly. Do I want every game I play to be like that? No.
Right.
Sometimes I just want to sit down and relate to a game in a small bit. I mean, obviously, I'm not an engineer in space dying all the time to these crazy aliens, but I can be scared like that person instead of having to be all, hey guys, guess what? I'm a badass now. I've dealt with one ship. Now I can deal with everything.
You're like, yeah, motherfuckers, give me the shotgun. Let's go.
But to recap on everything that I think we've learned in this discussion we've had is, I've got some advice for some game developers. I don't know. You can take it at face value or not. Stick to what was good. Don't stick to what is good. Stick to what was good, what you had, because that's what makes you unique.
And then innovate that. You know what I mean?
And then add on to what you have.
Add on to that. It doesn't, you don't have to make the exact same game every time. You can add new stuff, but the core is what's important.
It's like a bologna sandwich, okay? You start out with the bread, and then you put the mayonnaise in the bologna, and you put another piece of bread on top. And you think, next time, I'm going to make the sandwich better. You don't go, fuck the bread, fuck the mayonnaise, fuck the bologna. Let's just go ahead and make it a sub sandwich with steak. Because that's not what you wanted.
Your analogies are always on point.
Yeah, I get it.
But I know that's a crazy analogy, but that's just what I'm trying to get at is you don't take away what you had, you add on to it to make it better. You accent it. But I feel like that's where
it, yeah.
I feel like that's where this discussion has led us, and I feel like that's a really good way to end this because I feel like we learned something.
Yeah.
Crazy, right?
Yeah.
But we don't actually have an outro for this podcast. So, I'm just going to say I've been Funkle, and it's been nice to know you.
A question.
Yes.
Are you putting this on the iTunes podcast app?
I don't know if I can do that.
I don't know how.
I think there's a way.
If there's a way,
we'll figure it out.
And if you guys do...
This podcast, okay, for those of you who don't know, this is the inaugural podcast of the FunkleBunker. It is going to go up on YouTube. It is going to go up on SoundCloud because I know how to do both of those. It may be up on iTunes. I'm not going to commit to that though because I'm not sure how to do it. But if there's a way, it will be on iTunes. But that is where those things are going to be. We're going to be on YouTube and SoundCloud.
Sure.
If you want to download it on SoundCloud, I think that's the best way to listen to it if you don't want to go all the way to YouTube and deal with all that bullshit. But if you're watching this on YouTube, listening to it on YouTube, whatever you want to call it, go ahead and hit that little subscribe button. If you're on SoundCloud, go ahead and follow us on there and comment along on the podcast and tell us what you think of what are
also,
certain points.
Hit the bell because YouTube is stupid.
Yeah.
Hit that bell. And if this does go on iTunes, how about we also, if they leave like reviews in the comment section on YouTube, at the beginning of the next episode, we read some 5-star reviews and shout you guys out on the podcast.
Yeah, I'd do it.
I would definitely answer any questions that you guys
That
have,
too.
or we can make a whole segment about that if we get enough questions. And on top of that, if you guys just want to tell us what you think about all of this, definitely let us know.
Even
because
if you want to just tell us we're bullshit. I
yeah,
don't mind.
exactly. Yeah. Just let us know, and yeah, just let us know. That's basically what I'm trying to say. Just let us know. I'm going to say that 5 more times. Just let us know. Just let us know. Just let us know. Just let us know. Just let us know.
Anyways,
Do you guys still do your Patreon?
we're ending it.
But we did anyway. I'm going to go ahead and think of an outro on the fly, okay?
right,
I've been Funkle, and it's been nice to know you.
I've been Bunkle. Yeah.
I'm WaterNinjaFrog.
No, go ahead, Jake.
I don't know. He looked at me. I'm sorry.
Now it's awkward. Now it's awkward.
Gosh!
I've been Jacque from Stat Firm, and this has been fun. I've had a good time.
But if you guys liked this, definitely join us the next week and bunker down with us.
Bye-bye. See ya.